Okay, and we are live. So hello everyone. Thank you for coming to this live event. And also thank you for suggesting the topic. I believe one of you, I'm not sure who it was. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but some of you recommended this subject being a very useful. Hello, high vibrations. Thank you
Hi.
for joining us in this live event.
Sorry
I
I'm late.
It's fine. I was just talking about it. Someone recommended this subject, I think last week, how to become a more empowered empath. And we were going to like address it, what it is to be an empath and like how you can maneuver this whole experience, since pretty much all of us who are awake and aware are in the same boat, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also wanted to mention that if any of you are interested, like want to expand more on how we work spiritually and what we can do, I highly recommend our spiritual community on Patreon, where we have different types of activities each week. And yesterday we had our first live channeling session where I brought through my guides and all the participants were able to ask their questions. And next week we will see what we will do. It's not clear yet. Okay. So if you're interested, I think the link is in the description. So welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry for the time difference, like because of daylight saving, I'm on the other
Right.
half of the world. So things work differently here for some reason. It makes no sense, but next week everything is back to normal.
Right.
Um,
Your
so,
daylight saving starts on this Sunday, where ours was on the 12th, I believe.
so you're more ahead of us. Okay.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay. So I will like quickly address like kind of what is an empath and like how it works. And after that, we're going to go into the subject or like what can you do with it and like how to navigate it, because it's a very complex and tricky subject, basically, which we're not going to be able to cover completely today, but at least we would want to give like tools and suggestions on what you can do to like smooth your awakening process, and instead of being like a burden or something that you don't like about yourself, actually like use it for what it is, which is like an awesome gift that we have. And there are like multiple ways how you can use it to your benefit and also to serve others too. So in a nutshell, like what is an empath? Like all of us are constantly like receiving and emanating energies, like all of us. And all of us, all human beings are empathic to a certain extent, except if you're a psychopath. I think that you don't have empathy, but I'm not sure about that. That's what I heard about them. So, but all of us have this gift, but people who are awake, or you are here to as a light worker or a healer, like this ability in us is like supercharged compared to the rest of the population. But like everyone can develop this to a certain extent. We just have like a better chance of doing so. And in the beginning, it can be like super confusing because we are not even aware that we're having these gifts and abilities. And it can be also very detrimental since we're not aware of them and know how to use them constructively, because we're constantly absorbing stuff and amplified, we're transmitting it further. So we are used to perceiving other people's emotions. We're able to get like glimpses of who they are, or we are able to tap into their energy much more easily than other people, or
Right.
we can just intuitively guess some minute details or hidden secrets about a random person or to someone that you're just talking to. Like other people would not be able to tap into that normally, but for us it's like second nature. I also discovered, like after I had my spiritual awakening, that I always had my empathic abilities. I just
Right.
was not aware that what they were. For me, it was like normal because, and I thought like everyone else functioned the same way. And like in the beginning, I want to like address how it started for me. So maybe that can clarify stuff for people. In the beginning, like also through my childhood, I thought like I had no personality or like a personality of my own, because depending on with whom I was like taking over their patterns, the way they're talking, the way they're behaving, or their thought patterns. I was like making it my own And after a time, I was starting to behave or function as they did. And to me, this, I know, like I couldn't control it, or I had no clue what this was. And I also like when I don't know, just look at someone, I could like guess background stuff regarding them, like what they're going through or what is their background and stuff like that. And for me, like that was completely normal because that's how I functioned. That's all I knew. And I felt like that's how everyone else was too.
Right.
And after
Right.
my spiritual awakening, these stuff like amplified like tenfolds, and it became like super difficult because I was like absorbing stuff from other people. And
Yes.
yeah, like I guess I also absorbed the good stuff, but you don't really notice that. But when like the really shitty stuff start to manifest in your own life, then that's pretty challenging. Like
Mhm.
I became sick because of it. Like I took over someone else's sickness in my own body and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're not controlling it in a conscious way, it can be very difficult to manage. And it can be like a burden. And many people think of it as a burden. But if you're mastering it, or at least you're trying to work with it and like work on yourself each day, then it is this superpower as we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
you're a
like,
superhero.
yeah, and like later on, it like advances in different fields. Like for me, it began as like I was clear sentient. That's when you like feel stuff around you. And I
Right.
guess like for many people, that's how it starts, that you feel stuff and you also, but it also like expands in different directions after a time
Right.
because you have like clear sentience when you feel things. You have clear cognizance when you like receive downloads regarding stuff, like you see something and you instantly like get some kind of information regarding that thing. You also,
Exactly.
I think it's called clear audience, or I don't know how you call that, when you hear stuff.
That's right. That's right.
And how do you call the one when you are seeing energies? I don't remember.
I don't actually know, but yeah, I see that too.
Yeah, like when you're able to perceive also visually stuff. And yeah, like
Clairvoyant.
clairvoyance. Yeah, it's clairvoyance. Okay. And like for some of us, like one is like very strong and the others are still there. But I think like for all of us, there's like this main way that we perceive stuff. And later on, the other ones can come into. Okay, so I rambled on for enough.
Well, it's good to understand the background and what it is and what it was like in its development and understanding for you, because that is everyone's journey, I think.
Yeah, like especially that we function this way on a normal basis, and for us it is granted. And I think like for the majority of us, we weren't even conscious that something like this existed.
Right.
Like at first when I had my awakening, I was like guided to an astrologer, and I was like never into that kind of stuff.
Right.
But he was also an empath. So he also had the same name as I have. So that was very
Wow.
strange.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's also, yeah, like we were born on the same day. We have the same birthday too.
Wow.
That was very interesting. And I was like, when I was seeing all those information about him, I'm like, I should probably check him out.
Yeah, that's really
And
cool.
yeah, and when I went to him for a reading, he like didn't look at any of my charts or anything. He just sat down. Okay, like you're an empath and you have to learn how to use those abilities.
Crash course, buddy.
Yeah, he didn't even look at my charts or anything. He just bluntly said it. So
Right. That's how
okay,
you could tell he was a real empath, right?
yeah, I suppose like I had no clue about this stuff before that. Like up until then, I only heard this word from Star Trek.
Right.
Like you have that character,
Yeah.
Deanna Troy, the counselor, like she's an
Yeah.
empath. I thought it's like some kind of alien stuff.
I felt the same. Like that was I remember connecting with that character, but I didn't catch the word. For me, I was activated by the word many years later. Someone gave me the word empath, and I was like, I did some research on it. And I was so happy to have a word for what I was going through. Because for me, I was noticing more, like you said, the negative effects of it, the anxiety, the panic, the impending doom feelings that people have because they, you know, open their mail or something, you know. Like the feeling that people have is so big, their emotions are so much. That's something else too, is that we tend to have a more even kilter set of emotions. Like our emotions are more of like slow up and down, and people who are not in that awakening space tend to be more dramatic. They're like their spikes are more up and down. And so to feel somebody else, like I remember feeling my sister and I thought she was dying. Like literally she was about to perish. She failed her driving exam. That's what happened. But it took me 5 days to find her, to find out that she wasn't dying. Because those experiences in some people are so much more intense than ours. And so to know what we're going through, that we're not actually in a situation where we need to be medicated, is very helpful to know that.
Yes, yeah. I also heard this and it made like a lot of sense to me. I'm not sure whether I read it, that like star seeds and people who come from the higher realms and incarnate here, like for us, like strong emotions are like very scary. Like we don't know what to do with them. For we like don't experience stuff in this like super highs and super lows.
Yeah.
We're a bit more evenly balanced. And like when someone is like reacting in that way, or for me, like when someone is like very aggressive or behaving very aggressively, like I just don't know what to do with that. Like that's so alien to me.
Exactly. I have the same problem. Like I was saying, I don't know if we did it on a live or we're talking about it on your Patreon or something.
Did, like the little goats that get scared.
Yeah, the fainting goat. I'm just like, I lose the strength in my legs with intense emotions, especially like you said, aggressive ones, where it feels very barbaric and just like, I don't know. I don't mean to be like insulting, but some individuals who are very aggressive, they feel like that bumbling buffoon feeling, like there's not logic involved in what might happen next. And so they're just like this, like you just want to get away.
Yeah, like it's not nice to say, but like there are certain people, like thank God I don't really have contact with them, but I like know people like that who have like very primitive energies, and like also how they function mentally is like very, I don't know, like backwards or primitive. And usually those people tend to be more aggressive than the ones who are a bit more like, I know, like quotation marks, evolved. Like everyone is going through their own stuff.
Right.
Yeah, like that's also okay. But yeah, like for us, it's kind of scary because like we don't know how to handle those types of situations.
Right.
And that's why the ETs don't come down and land, because everyone is crazy. They have guns, they're running around, and they're shooting at each other. So
right.
Yeah.
It's like, are you gonna go land in, like it's basically, you've seen those videos of those people that are giving, this was years and years ago, but there's a handful of people that thought it was funny to give like automatic rifles to some monkeys or something in this forest. It was a really bad idea, obviously. It was a video that was going around a handful of years ago, but I keep thinking of that image as, the ETs that are like, should we go down there? Like there's a bunch of monkeys with semi-automatic rifles running around, and like they figured out how to use them.
Yeah,
Why
like,
would you go there?
wouldn't really. Yeah, I also remember, I think it was like a channeling from Bashar that like people are asking also them that like, why don't you come and land and meet us in person and stuff like that. And it was like saying an analogy that, okay, like you have an insane asylum where all the inmates are loose and they have guns. Would you go in there?
Right. Yeah, it's valid.
Probably no.
But at the same time, they're participating and helping us in the way that they can from the distance that they are. And that's what's really cool about being an empath, is that we can experience those things and we're sensing those things as they come online. And it can feel alarming because we don't really know exactly what's happening. But the more that you practice and work on kind of separating your energy from others' energy and kind of understanding what that energy is, it's easier to kind of like translate it and to see where it's coming from and what's being said to us, and those energies afar are helping us and have been sending us messages for a long time. And that's pretty cool. It's simply figuring out the difference. Like I remember it was you that said it, Guardian, but like I relate to it a lot, so I'm going to quote you. But like getting out into the forest for the first time long enough and finding out that you're actually a pretty mellow, chill kind of person, you know, and like not knowing that before, I had the same experience. Like I was always in the city in a very, very densely populated space. You know, I was always part of that go, 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 you know, like parties for me, you know, gatherings of people were thousands of people at that time in my life. Like
Yeah.
I'm not that person, not anymore, but like
Hmm.
I was stayed, and then finally I ended up in a place where I moved into the forest and I built a little cabin out there and it was just us. And I found out how I found out what my energy really is. And once I learned what my energy was, and I got to be in my own space that long, I found out most of the drama and unpleasant energy that I experience on a daily basis had
Yeah.
nothing to do with me in the first place.
It's not even yours.
Yeah. And that's such a beautiful thing to discover. It's empowering because then you know, okay, that's what I feel like. So anything else that comes in, then you can decipher and figure out where it's coming from if you feel like you want to figure it out, if it's a message you want to discover.
Yeah, like that absolutely ties in with well, oh my God, with what Jocelyn just asked. Like any insights on how to be brave and trust our intuition faithfully without needing a sign or confirmation to decide if it's correct. Or maybe this takes time learning to trust ourselves. Yeah, like you have also kind of elaborated on this too, like how first of you kind of have to learn to know yourself,
Right.
like what is my stuff, because like we have also our own stuff that we're working on, and especially if you're like coming from a family background, which most of us are, then we're like tied into very much to their drama too, because like we came in as a team, or at least we like agreed to come into that environment to experience and like transform those stuff that you're like working on, or for some cases even struggling on for like generations, because that's kind of also the case in many situations. Because like yeah, like also I think we talked about it yesterday about three waves of volunteers from Dolores Cannon, that like all these beings have seen Earth, like what they're struggling with, and they're like repeating the same stuff over and over again, and they just can't get over it. So like a call went out to like ask for beings to come in to bring in something fresh, to like to push humanity like to
Yeah.
the next level, because like they just couldn't figure it out anymore.
Yeah, it was the jar. Like, you know how you can get the fleas to think that they can't jump out of the jar. You put a lid on it for a little while. And then you take the lid off and they're free, but they still think that they can't jump any higher than that, so they won't, because they recall the pain of how it's uncomfortable to hit that lid. And so there, that karmic loop had created this vortex of people being stuck here for so long, and once it was released and relieved, people still thought they had to stay here. And so someone's needed to come in to kind of create a bridge, and that's what we are. That's why we're the bridge people. I keep hearing that over and over again, the bridge people, but like the bridge people is like this honor. It's like it ties into the rainbow tribe, that we are the bridge people, and the bridge people are made out of every color of the rainbow and every walk of life and every space in the universe. And because we've already ascended before, we know how to do this. It's just that now it's time to do it for others, to create a bridge so they can do it too.
Yeah, like it's a yeah, like it's not a burden, like
Yeah.
it's not easy, but yeah, like we can do it. Also, like Sophia shared something. I kept getting told I have a really soothing voice, so I started to make guided meditations. It has now evolved into me facilitating meditations with people, being able to connect with their guides. Like that's awesome. Like yeah, like that's why we are here. Also, hello, Fania. Thank you for joining us today too.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of our friends coming on today. It's really cool to see everyone. Welcome.
Willkommen.
Huh?
Willkommen. Enter.
Yes. I just before I forget, I would like to mention the fact that so an empath, because a lot of people come on late, and Guardian already mentioned this a little bit, but an empath is someone that experiences each other, and we experience each other because we are of the same space. We are one, basically. We're all the Amazon rainforest coexisting and thriving as one being. And so when the tree that's 5 miles down the road has something happen to it, we experience it too in some way. And it's easier for us to experience, or happens more frequently when we're in a closer vicinity to one another. But the more that we are in this space, the more that we experience each other, we feel each other, we sense each other, and we are participating in an energetic way. And like I remember learning, and it makes so much sense, that we have a 50-foot in diameter space around us. That's our field. And so we're always touching everything that's in the 50-foot space for you. I can't translate it to meters or centimeters.
I'm not sure how much that is.
Yeah, but it's like, so you are almost 7 feet. And so 50 is a lot, but all the way around you. And anyway, and in that space, that is us directly touching things. But we go beyond that and farther, and we take in this information. And for me, when I first started to sense these things, I remember watching that Star Trek and seeing that Diana Troy. I can't think that's her name. Yeah. And being like, I'm an alien. Like, that's me. And I then was banned from watching that series. I wasn't allowed to watch it. We watched, there was a broken TV in the garage, and I would hook it up and like watch it with like really bad, because I wanted to learn about this person, because she was me. And that was so empowering. And then later on, I found out what an empath is. And that was the first time I got a word. The reason I reiterate this is that the most empowering thing we can do is to identify. And so once you know what you are, that you have this thing, then it opens up this whole vocabulary for you, and all of a sudden you get to know why you're in the space that you're in. And it makes more sense. I don't know if that's making any sense, rambling the way I am, but it's just that when I discovered that word, it was the first time that I felt free.
Yeah, like it's not the sense that you're like this anomaly or this freak of nature.
Yeah.
That there are like actually other people that have the same capabilities too, and it's like completely normal to experience that stuff.
In fact, when we look at it, it's actually abnormal to not be empathic.
Yeah, like, because it's part of who we are, yeah. And also, like, everyone is empathic to a certain extent, but like it was like bred out of us, and also like a culture is like oriented in a way so that you like push it down and like ignore that part of yourself, because it's weakness. It's making you weak.
Right. It went along with all the hocus, what do they call it? And during the witch trials and stuff, they threw away they combined tradition and superstition and all of this self-empowering stuff and put it all together in one big, it's all lies kind of bucket, and threw it out, basically, and so anyone who participated in those things, excuse me, were considered insane or incorrect in some way. Like when they first introduced the petroleum pill, the artificial medication, artificial healing medicine in the form of the pill, it was the same concept. You were all the doctors who used herbal or natural healing remedies were laughed out, because the people who were in charge were the ones with the money, and the ones with the money were the ones that had the petroleum pills. And the same thing happened with all this other stuff. The point is that now we're no longer underneath this thumb. So how do you become empowered? How did you find your power in that once you realized what you are?
That's a great question. Like, I have no clue. I don't have a definitive answer for it. I think it was more of a process, basically. But yeah, like after I had that talk with that astrologer and he like revealed this big secret for me, yeah, like after that there was like a super huge shift because right as you have told me, like after that you kind of had like this definition or this exact idea or notion, okay, like what this is, like what is happening to me and like what I can do with it. And yeah, like my first reaction was to when I got home to do a search on YouTube, like
Yeah.
what are empathic abilities or like how the hell does this work or anything. And I think I found a video from Melina Brown. I think that's how her name. She's still on YouTube, by the way, 10 years later.
Awesome.
And she had like a 5 minute video of like just her talking in her garden, okay, like what this is and how it works and like what you can do to remedy these situations. And basically what really shifted stuff for me is that, okay, like you have to do like regular maintenance on yourself daily to learn how to manage your own energies.
Yeah.
And also like psychic protection is like superb because you have to like filter like what you receive in and what you don't, basically, because we're like energetic sponges, just like little children. Like if something's wrong with their parents or they're struggling with something, then they're the first that you can see their signs. And like they get sick or they're like super agitated if something's wrong with their parents. And we're very much similar. Like if something's wrong around us, then we absorb that if we're not aware of it or if we don't protect ourselves. And I'm not sure, it probably did help. Like they were also in that video, she recommended that, okay, like you do every day or at least as much as you can, some kind of energetic movement like Tai Chi or yoga or whatever makes sense to you. Because like you're also learning, for example, through Tai Chi, I kind of learned how energy moves through my body and like what you can do with it and how I can control it after 4 or 5 years. So it
Right.
took some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it really teach me how things flow in my own body. Like that helped a lot too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like protecting yourself is like the quickest way of working around this stuff, doing protection. And also I did a lot of violet flame clearings and healings. That's also like a super quick way that you can transform the stuff that is around you, because like we're exposed to so much stuff and we absorb it and it builds up, and after a time it becomes very much uncomfortable. It can also manifest in the form of an illness or some kind of sicknesses may come through.
Mm.
So yeah, like it's super important to clear yourself, also clear your home, like
Mhm.
create a safe space around you where you can rest. And yeah, like do regular maintenance on yourself. Like that's like the only thing that really helps on the long run, but it's something that you have to do every day.
Right.
It has the most profound impact over the whole things, basically.
Yeah. And there are other earlier steps that could be taken in order to take your power back in that way. Like the first things that I remember doing, I used to envision I would do meditative breathing where you'd breathe through your nose and out through your mouth. And as I was breathing through my nose, I'd bring the light down through my crown chakra that it's coming from source. And then as I breathed out, I would blow out this white light that would become like a bubble around me. And it was pushing off, like I envisioned it and it just felt like really real. And it worked for me though, is that I was pushing off this like crusted like shell that wasn't part of me, the energy of other people or the stuff that kind of was sticking to me in my day. And then as I blew up that white light bubble around me, it kind of just fell off. It like sloughed off. And then I was like, I could breathe in my own energy again and be in my space again. And that was a really efficient and something I was able to do because I still didn't understand what was going on exactly. I just knew that made me feel better. And I also felt silly about it because I thought that I was, doing something pretend, you know what I mean? That's okay. Whatever you need to go through in that process, just allow yourself to know that first of all, you're not alone. And so many of us are going through this, but then also that just saying it is so makes it so, so whatever tools that you want to use, as long as you are using something, you're using your own empowered. We are such powerful beings. It's so amazing. Like, I remember being fooled into believe that we were victims of circumstance all the time, a victim of circumstance, of disease, of occurrence in our life. And we are the creators of our every moment. And we are also the creators of our own health. We can create health within ourselves as well through these useful tools. And that's part of it. It's the beginning of it. So I rambled also, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, like also it taps into what Lisa just shared. My son has taught me to visualize a layer of protective energy. So yeah, pretty much the same stuff. And also, Sophia, I agree with the protection. I set up default protection for my family and home. It is there all the time, and when I tap back into default is reinforced. It really helps, and I am mom of 4. Wow. And so busy. Yeah, like I also do the same thing. Like I do protection first for myself. Like you put the oxygen mask first for yourself,
Right.
and then for your family and also our homes. I also like do protection for the land around our homes. So there's this 3 or more layered protection that is protecting us here. And I usually do it before we go to bed, because like when we go to sleep, we're like exposed to so much stuff that is happening.
Right.
I also just seen, I think it's on Instagram, or where like Elizabeth April was like talking about like dreams becoming more intensified right now for many people.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has experienced that, like you're experiencing more vivid dreams or more of it. I also like observed that during the night, I don't know, like I get woken up after every 1 or 2 hours, and I have this so many stuff are happening in my mind, like a whole night's worth of dreams. And I look at the clock and oh my God, just 1 hour passed.
Yeah.
And it's so
Yeah.
tiring after a time.
And then you go back to sleep and you start something else. It's like a whole nother day's worth of work in 30 minutes.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
wake up super tired in the morning.
Yeah.
I
There's a
usually
lot.
get this around like the full moons. Like, I don't know if you have that. It usually happens then, for me at least.
Yeah. I think that sometimes that's true. It depends on a lot of different factors. This month, the month of March, has always been a very significant month for, it turns out, many people. I didn't actually know that. I knew it from my own personal subjective experience. Like when I first learned what Ascension symptoms was in March 2020. I knew that I had been having them. I just didn't know that's what they were. I thought I was dying or something was really wrong, or, like I didn't know what was happening to me. And then it was March 2020 was when the ear ringing didn't stop for the whole month. And then I discovered what that was and how many other people are going through it. And the dream thing, I don't know why I want to share this with you so badly, but last night the thing that happened was that there was an understanding brought through that that we are, so there's 3 main places that we start from, and there's 3 main dimensions, and then of each of those dimensions there's 7 frequencies, and each one of those frequencies and dimensions are us. So like I am these 3 dimensions, and then each of those dimensions have their 7 frequencies, and what we're doing is we're pulling back, we're reabsorbing self to create a full self. And when we create full self back into that, it creates this space where we're recalling back to a singular dimensional space. And it looks like we're closing portals. We're closing like these holes in space. And it's not a bad closing. It's saying it's that when we acknowledge and see that it is there, then it doesn't have to be, and it dissipates and disappears. into something beautiful, and it all recalls back to one. And I don't know why it was so important to tell you that's what happened last night, but that's what happened last night. Sorry.
Like people are talking about like the collapsing of timelines. Maybe it is related to that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, like I don't really, yeah, but it does kind of tie into other stuff too. Like people are saying that timelines are collapsing, but like how I perceive it is like you have like the two possibilities or like the angles, like the old stuff and the new Earth. And kind of the two is existing together right now, this like Vesica Pisces stuff, type of stuff. And you can like go between the two. But as we're like moving forward, it will become more difficult to like transition from one to the other. So maybe that's why it's like collapsing, because like all the doors or possibilities or view shifting is like closing down, closing down. So you have to decide what you want.
And most of us already have decided. Like you can choose the old Earth paradigm. And some of the things that we don't like about those timelines that we've been told about growing up may still happen in that space over there. You know, it's their choice. However, we've chosen our own timeline, and it's a timeline of beauty and light and awesome stuff. It is a place to celebrate the fact that we are empowered empaths. We are these beings of light. We know, like people talk about being having a spiritual experience, and we're actually spirits having human experiences at this moment. And we are returning back to self now. And so it's becoming more spiritual and more even kiltered and mellow. At the same time, because of that, when we do tap into others empathically, it feels more disturbing right now, because we are getting to a space where we're so much more familiar with this soft light space versus this chaotic, impending doom, panic, fear space that we don't go to anymore. So when we feel it, it feels even more uncomfortable. It's not that it's more intense. It's simply farther removed from where you are as you're choosing new Earth.
Yeah, and I also got notion to talk about, oh, like what it was. It's starting to get late here. Okay. So regarding, yeah, like you told that like you can tap into other people, and like also like what I got very early on with this tapping into people is like it works both ways. So like, okay, like I can tap into your energy and I feel your stuff, but I'm like sending back my stuff to you. So this energetic exchange works both ways. And like in the beginning, many people, yeah, like I also seen it from my wife. She's also very empathic. And yeah, like we're all this service to others mentality people, like we're going to go out of our way to like help people and make it good for them and stuff like that. And some people like mix up this notion in their minds that, okay, like if I don't want to feel the other person's pain or what they're going through, then I'm like not empathic or I'm not helping them. But basically what you're doing, and also the astrologer said this to me very plainly, like, okay, like you're receiving all this information, like their pain and they're in a rut or they're feeling very bad, and then amplified, you're throwing it back at them. So basically you're not, if you're like going down in a very low note with them, you're amplifying that energy and that whole experience for them as well. So you're not helping them.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to like stay very centered and always clear ourselves, because you can like, I wouldn't say like impose that energy on them, but you can like transmit that stabilizing and supportive energy into them, and also like stabilizing their energies too. Like many people are open to that, mostly because they have no clue of it and they're like open to anything, and you can like do energetically a lot of stuff with other people who are not aware or awake at all, because they're always open to everything. And yeah, like I experimented a lot with it too, even like back I don't know, 5 years ago, like when people in the family were like very upset and like everyone was shouting and standing on their feet and like big drama is happening. I was just sitting in the room, like observing them and like sending them this calm down. Okay, like it's okay, this energy.
Yeah.
And after like a few minutes, people started to not shout as much. They sat down and actually had a decent conversation after 10 minutes. I
There's
didn't do
nothing
anything. I was just sitting there.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you're not interfering. I think that, like, the thing is everyone has a higher self. And so, if you are providing energy to someone, it's the same as people say, when someone prays for someone else, you're providing energy for that person, and their higher self can accept or decline it. It does help to ask someone's permission, but if you can't, like you said, like, I have some neighbors who are they probably shouldn't be together kind of people, you know what I mean? There's some people that just fight all the time, and I don't like it. And so I send them love. I do. I send them love balls. Like, I'm sending love, and all of a sudden they're like, why are we fighting? I don't know. Can you stop yelling at me and get back in the house? Okay. And then they're fine again for the rest of the night, and their higher self could have declined that, though. Like, I used to have a thing. I was so worried about interfering. Like, am I allowed to do this? Well, if it wasn't okay, it wouldn't be accepted.
Yeah, like that's also what I get. Like if they reject that, and they won't receive it at all.
Yeah.
And it also can happen like with people, like, that they like drama, or they're very much into negativity, and you're like always trying to help them and whatever.
Yeah.
And even if you're like sending this subtle energy to them, but on like a conscious way, they are like rejecting you as a person, or they have this resistance towards you because you're like so different. Then maybe that way that it doesn't work, because they have this resistance within themselves,
Right.
that everything that you're emitting or saying is like bad to me, or I don't agree with that.
Right.
Yeah. And also, like Cosmin shared something, I'm finding I'm struggling to engage in typical conversations about how bad things are in the world, or when people recount horrible past events. It just becomes very uncomfortable. Yeah, like I wouldn't say like struggling, but I'm experiencing that too. Yeah, like it depends on like how well I slept that night, and how like relaxed and revitalized I am. Like, if I'm feeling okay, then I feel like I can like handle it more. But if I'm like tired and I also have my own stuff on my head, then yeah, it can be very difficult too.
Yeah.
So
And
how do you deal with it?
well, I just wanted to say more. Also, we're now in this place. We've already been here, but it's like an amplified version of it, where we are actually leaving our story behind. Like, everyone has their story, right? We all have our story. It's like an identity thing, as, me as Pamela, for instance, my experience is this human form, and this happened, I was born, and blah, 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 blah. That's my story, right? Well, that my story is now we're being asked to give it up, to say goodbye to it. That story is anchoring us in this space. And so this happened paradigm and way of talking is already, so it's already disruptive. We're already having this part of us, because we've already been told it's time to let that go. And so when someone else is doing it, it's extra irritating. It used to already be a difficulty for me. It's like, you're trying to be in the problem and not the solution. You're trying to be lower energy and not higher frequency space. And so I can't be in your bubble. But now it's even worse. It's like, we really are going beyond this. Like, I'm sorry that you had a problem at the store, dude. You know what? Move on.
Ended up in that phase too, like the past 2 years, like really teach me how to like not give a damn about many stuff.
Yeah.
Because like we have our own stuff to deal with, and like some people are like very much capable of like overloading you with their drama too. And after a time, like I said, like I don't have energy, I don't have time for this, I'm sorry.
The energy vampires that
Yeah,
you could spend all of your time giving them solution, and then after your whole allness is emptied out to them, then they feel happy after like 15 hours or something of your day. And then tomorrow the same problem is starting over again. And that's just not, I'm not utilizing my energy properly in that way. I could be helping other people, and I could also be helping myself. If I don't help self, I can't help anyone else. Like,
Yeah,
and
it's like the
as I
best.
help myself too. Sorry, what?
Yeah, like that sums up the whole discussion the best way. Like if you're not okay, then you are unable to help other people
Yeah.
too.
And then also, while we're helping ourselves, we're helping others, where the ripple is going out. Like as I'm raising my frequency space by being of assistance to myself and doing the things that I really need to do for me, meaning like giving myself the rest that I need. You don't need, considering what I'm putting into my body, not just what I'm eating, but what I'm thinking about and how I'm interacting with the world around me. I'm also consuming the media, the things that I put through my mind, and as I'm taking care of myself in those ways and saying no, it's okay to say no. Like I used to think that meant like I'm not being of service. Oh no, I can't do that. But if I don't say no sometimes, when I need to be able to recharge myself, I'm making it, like you were saying, you're amplifying that negative experience to everyone around you. And when instead, if I take care of myself and find that center again, then that love light goes out and out and out. God is nothing but the purest love. And the opposite of that is fear. The farther away from fear we can go, and the closer to the love that we become, the more centered and correct we are. And it's no longer a problem. The answer is always love. And that includes self-love.
Yeah, like that's the first step, because like just as a way with like money or love, if you don't know how to love yourself, then how can you love others?
Exactly.
And usually like people who are very much like disrespect you or like behave with you in a rude way are usually people who don't love themselves or don't even know how to respect themselves either.
And they may not even know who they're being alone with. And that's a point I want to make really quickly before I forget. I had this experience where I was given the space to be in this forest by myself. That's not what you need to do for as long as I did. If to find your own energy in your own frequency space, just pull away for a moment, an afternoon drive into the woods. Even if you can't go deep into the forest, just pull away as far as you can from the populated energy so you can learn what your energy feels like. Not everybody has luxuries that I have had, but even a park, a forested space where you can center and be barefoot and present in that space and allow your energy to start to be able to settle so you know what it feels like. I just wanted to be sure that I brought that up.
Yeah, like it doesn't, or it is not necessarily able to happen all at once. Like you don't necessarily will have this, oh my God, experience.
Right.
But like day by day or like experience after experience, you kind of get a hang of it and it starts to develop for you as well. And I also like wanted to address that you said that, okay, like you have this now experience, you like higher vibrations in this life, and we're like attracting all others. And you said that, okay, like we're letting this go right now, this life trauma and all that stuff. And after the last year and also now, I also have these moments also when I like contemplate or think about it, because like a lot of past memories and other lifetimes have come back into this one and they are starting to settle more. And I many times I have this like feeling, okay, like who the hell am I now? Or like who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Because like so far you kind of gotten used to this personality that like lived here, dressed like this, and you
Right.
had this job and your family and all that. And now you're like, okay, like who am I really, or what is happening?
Right.
I don't know yet, but it's going to be interesting.
Well, and that's the message I keep getting, is that desire to know and to have an answer is what's dissipating. Those things that we kind of attach to and kind of, another means of separation and pulling ourselves up, separating and making our identity individualized. Whereas the sensation, the experience of separateness from each other, as well as from source God, is an illusion. It's not actually a real thing. We are not separate. We are all together one. You know, for instance, the hand is made of many fingers, but they're all connected and they're all part of the greater whole of the body. And it's the same thing, you know, and as we are pulling back, what's happening is we're going to slowly removing the fingers are retracting into a hand without fingers, and then into, you know, before it's back to the sphere again. Eventually, you know, that's the thing that's happened. But the point is that we're in this space where we no longer have, we're learning how to not self-identify is what it is. That who you are, who I am, who I was, who I might be, who I can be, all that stuff is all bullshit, is all a lie.
Okay, it
it's
is.
erroneous.
Yeah, but it's like so strange, like looking back and like recollecting all these experiences and like integrating within yourself, and you like kind of look back that you like lived through the ages, like in different lands and different cultures. And yeah, like I also like all the sensation of this has always been inside of me. I just couldn't really like put my finger on it, like where it came from.
Yeah.
Also the same, it's very similar to like when star seeds are like, I want to go home, but I have no clue where that is, but I want to go home.
Right.
Yeah, and because like it's very strange, like people very much associate to their own culture, to their own upbringings, and I was never really much a fan of mine environment or how people think here or what value systems they have. And as I have like unfolded gradually over the years, I kind of got the sense like why, like I lived through thousands of lives in other cultures, and like this is not the best one of them.
Right.
Like this is not the most advanced and highly evolved culture ever.
Yeah, I get that. I feel the same.
Yeah, like we're just starting to figure stuff out here.
And that's another point, is as we absorb and remember and then absorb and then move on from these past life experiences that are being brought through to us, more and more we're realizing that having a past life recollection and then also a connecting to the Akashic records are the same thing. And therefore a past life that this particular soul fractal had in those different moments also had the same experiences that Guardian perhaps and all of his fractal moments had, because there's no individual identity anymore. And it's such a hard concept to understand early on, but it just makes so much sense to me now. Like there are moments like I'm like, you know, because, you know, especially when you have your job and you like, okay, today I have to look at my calendar, I got to do this and this and this, and then you don't forget to feed the kids, and also, you know, because they have to still live, you know, and that kind of thing.
You have to clean the toilet and do the dishes.
Yeah, and so there are those 3D-ish like things that we need to do to complete in our daily tasks, but at the same time, we're doing those things as we move into this higher frequency space where those identities don't matter anymore. And now I get it. Like those things that we use as identifiers, like mother, daughter, sister, friend, all those types of things are also part of this lie that we've participated in the matrix for so long, because we are all and we are all love. And that's so beautiful, you know, and to be in this experience is an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, but where does it lead to? Where does it lead to, basically?
Back to source.
Yeah. Also, Gracie 144 asked, like, how far can we go? Yeah, like back to source, like completely integrating back into complete oneness, which will, God knows when will happen, from our perspective, at least.
Right. And that's something else, is time. This linear format of time is also part of that illusion. You know, like I started touching into those past life things, some of my past lives were thousands of years from now, not that this way, you know, and like his time is a circle and we stand in the middle and we can touch any point at any time we want to. And so to try to convey it in this linear fashion is becoming so outdated that it's becoming more and more obvious that we're at a space now that it's going to be a beautiful pop. It's like we've been existing under this blanket of clouds for so long, asking where's the sun, and we're now lifting up through this field of clouds and seeing the sun has always been there, and more people are coming above this blanket of clouds, and we're getting to this space now then just existing in both up and down. And it's beautiful. It's a transition though, and in transition there's growing pains, an experience of trying to figure out how to stand and where to stand and what to do. And that's okay. We're all fumbling through this, but you're doing it gracefully, whether or not you think you are.
Yeah, like, and this is where like maintenance on yourself and self-love comes in.
Yeah.
So you can like better navigate the soul shift within you, because like it's super tiring and draining on like all of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Takes a lot out of you. And that's where being, gentle with yourself comes in. All those weird things that I don't know, I was taught to believe that if I took naps or I cared for myself, I was being selfish and lazy. And that's not true. Listen to your body.
Yeah, like I also get the idea that, okay, like we are perceiving this incarnation stuff like very linearly, like you're remembering your past life in India or whatever. But what happens when you're remembering a life that hasn't happened yet from your point of view, like a life from the future? Like how does that fit in into the whole thing?
How does it?
Yeah, like especially if you're like this very much like linear mindset type of person. Right. And also like when you're exploring those lifetimes, or when you're like going back, you're like experiencing it again in the now. So like when you're going back, it's happening then, or like that's you're now in that moment. So it's it's very difficult to explain it.
Right. And that's why we're all considered time travelers, and that's why most of us have been obsessed with time travel for most of our lives, that we are, existing in all those moments. And I think that we've all come to this focal point at this time right now from all those different times, because this is the moment. Very few of us get to be here for this. Everyone raised their hand and said, pick me. And of all of those, all of everyone, we got chosen because we know what to do. And everyone wants to be here because this is the moment when that moment when the transition actually occurs. And though all these other energies get to watch it, we actually get to be part of it. And that's because we are the bridge people. We are the rainbow tribe. We are the people that are here to create the ascension pathway. We have already ascended multiple times, and we're just showing people how to do it.
Yeah, like I also got like many experiences and remembrances that I've done this similar job on different worlds before too. But yeah, like how do you think like we have this perception that, okay, like Earth has been this environment and we're like new souls that came in to like push this evolution to the next level, because like people were not figuring out, they were not working out their own stuff. Like that's also what like Dolores Cannon's work is saying, that like call went out and all these new souls came in to help humanity, but like many of us are like remembering lifetimes well before, like thousands of years ago, before the call went out. And I still haven't put this very much into place, but I know like if we're so multi-dimensional, then I guess like we could come into different time periods to have like a more lasting effect, or to create a more lasting effect for the whole shift. Like I don't know, how do you see it?
Well, because there is no time, then all things are always known. There's no surprises. There's no moments of oh, that's what we do now. There's no need for, the only thing to be considered is the element of free will. And the element of free will creates a need to have other backup options if one of the free wills chooses not to do the thing at that moment that needs to happen in order to cause the domino effect, right? And from my experience, one of my most familiar knowings is not even being here. I was watching I can't remember what it's called right now. A stellar formation. Okay. Anyway, that word doesn't matter right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent thousands and thousands of human lifetimes watching this occur. And as I did, I was also experiencing life here. I was experiencing each one of the experiences that were occurring down here. I was remotely participating and living in each of these bodies and each of these spaces down here on this planet, experiencing these different moments, waiting for the right moment to occur. And as that happened, I was also living those lifetimes, Guardian. Even though I was not fractalized here,
Mm-hmm.
I was still here and also there. Nebula was the word I was trying to think of.
Nebula.
I watched a nebula form over many, it was beautiful. And that experience teaches me that we are all able to participate in every one of those moments at that same time. Does that make sense? And so, yeah, we had those past lives, but we were also here and we were also over there. We were also, at the same time you were embodied as a human, you were also air, like that's, yeah, it's, I don't know how else to explain it to make it make sense.
Yeah, like how I see it is like we have like chosen a theme for ourselves. So like what type of work you want to do. And I don't know, like let's take it for example, like this lifetime, because we are here right now, and you have chosen a type of work in this lifetime, and you're like attracting all other experiences that can help you with what you're doing right now. That's kind of how I perceive it. And also at the same time, like other lifetimes of you are like drawing on your present experience for their benefit, basically. So what you're experiencing and learning here is like goes that way to it as well, to assist other lifetimes of you exploring the same theme.
And at the same time, the linear fashion of it doesn't exist because we have to come back sometimes and it's very difficult to describe it now that there's an understanding that there's not a personal identity.
I still don't get that, but I guess we will soon enough.
Yeah, I remember being appalled and concerned about the idea of the loss of privacy, because as everyone was turning on their being able to communicate telepathically and all those things, I was concerned. I remember being very worried about privacy, because privacy mattered to me at that time a lot. And then I had another one of my near-death experiences that occurred, and when it did, and I understood that that it didn't matter. None of those things actually, no one cares. You know what I mean? Like the things I thought I needed to keep secret and private in those privacy kind of needed bubbles, it doesn't actually matter. And it's just another one of those kinds of lessons where it will, when you are ready for it, it will make sense. And if you do not accept that, you don't have to. Because of the law of free will, you get to choose. You're not going to be put in a position where you are forced to let go of your identity, though it is advantageous to the next step.
Yeah, also like many people have talked about this too, like you have your guides and they're like always watching you and you're never alone.
Right.
And yeah,
What
like,
about when I'm in the bathroom? Oh no.
yeah, I'm doing something on the toilet and everyone sees it. Or
Right.
yeah, like they don't care. Like they don't care about it at all.
Right.
Yeah, like you're going through your own stuff and this is how you're like maneuvering this reality. And I always get like, okay, like you're the expert on this, like this is your lifetime, you know what you're doing, and this is how you do it, like whatever. They don't care.
Right.
If this is what makes sense to you, then do it. Like they don't care.
Exactly. And the thing is too, is this is the most important thing I think about all this, is that whatever is needed will come, will be provided. And, you know, the only thing that holds us back is free will. And therefore we need to ask sometimes, because some of the things that will come to you are won't come unless you ask for help.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
ask the archangels, ask God, ask source, ask whatever it is that you feel you need to connect to at that time, and it will come. And once it starts to come, sometimes we find the experience to be a little overwhelming, and it's okay to ask to let it down. Like I sometimes will envision, even with Ascension symptoms, Guardian, I'll pretend it's like a volume, like the old school radios back in the old days, you turn the volume down and and just do that. Just turn it down a couple notches. You know, you don't have to say stop. If you don't want it to stop, just turn it down a little bit. That helps too.
Okay. So in closing, do you want to share anything?
I would like to do an advertisement for tomorrow.
Okay.
We are going to do a Zoom gathering for everyone that wants to join. On my channel, I'll comment on the bottom after this is over and let you guys know where my channel is. If you want to join this Zoom meeting, it's free. It's not going to be aired. We decided to do it an hour earlier than we had been, so it's going to start at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will put all a short on my channel with the link. So you're welcome to attend if you want.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and check out Higher Vibrations channel. She has also awesome videos and like whole shift and like what is happening to us and how can we like better navigate it. So if you're interested, check it out too. Okay. Thank you for joining us, Higher Vibrations, and thank you and much love to everyone who has joined us. And if you're watching the replay, then thank you and congratulations on making it through to this point. So have an awesome weekend, everyone, and see you soon.